Are you putting together the exercises in your program in an effective manner? Let's dive into it. What's going on, guys? Larry here. First video of the new year. I hope the new year finds you in good health, good spirits, and in a good mental place so you can make some progress in your training and life and your spirituality, all that. Today, not a long video, but one that I think I need to at least touch on as the new year progresses. But before we get into that, please like, subscribe to the channel. I'm inching ever so close to 900 subscribers. I'd like to hit it before February, so if you can help me out, tell another person about the channel, what you learn, what they can learn, we'll go from there. But please hit the like button on this video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll be bringing to you more content. But today, I've been looking in the influencer space in TikTok for the past few weeks now, and I don't think TikTok's going to get banned now, just to be very clear. But I've been looking in that space, and I'm seeing some things that can help the longevity of a lot of people. There's the thing called influencer sequencing, or some of the way that we used to put together exercises in the old school, or there is a more effective way that I'll get into a minute. So let's look at the way that we used to do things old school, and this is not just influencers doing this. They're getting a lot of stuff from the guys that are my age and above, the guys I looked up to. So the first thing that a lot of people do is we start out with a compound movement, then start off with another compound movement, then we go finish off the rest of the workout with isolation to bring in a big muscle pump. So that's not uncommon. It's not even necessarily bad. Here's the problem that comes with that, is that your longevity, the thing that you work for so hard, it could be derailed by injury because you're starting off with that first exercise that may be a barbell movement 9 times out of 10. Even if it's a machine or not, it's still a barbell movement. You're starting off with it so consistently, so faithfully, and it may give you the best results, but if you want to keep it in your program long term, then it's good to sequence it in or out, or if you're going to keep it within the program, putting it in a different spot from time to time instead of leading off with it. Give you an example. Leg day. In the olden days, they used to start out with squats. It really wasn't until Dorian Yates came along that they started out with leg extensions just to get the quads warmed up. The way that I like to put together things is the John Meadows way, or the old John Meadows way. It's so crazy I have to say the old John Meadows way. I start off every leg movement, or every leg workout rather, whether it be quad emphasis or hamstring emphasis, I always started out with some type of leg curl variation, whether it's seated leg curl, whether it's lying leg curl, or whether it's a single leg curl. I will start out the session with that movement. Why? Because the hamstring, when it's pumped up, it acts as a rebounder for when you come down in your squats, when you come down in your leg press. It almost gives you that natural knee wrap response, and that your legs pop right back up. So it's good to have some pressure below the quad before you push back up into, say, a squat or a leg press. Now, with that being said, your sets and reps are going to vary. I like to train the leg curl kind of heavy these days, but I have to make sure that I'm extremely warmed up. So I'll drop my reps down into the 6 to 8 range for the leg curl, whether it be seated or whether it be lying. But that's after several sets of 20, of 10, and then maybe a quick primer of 5 and 3, and then I go into my work sets. But I'm thoroughly warmed up before I go. So I feel if you thoroughly warm up and then you go into that lower rep range for hamstrings, and keep in mind you're going to have to put that set range up into the 5 to 6 categories sometimes. Maybe if it's heavy enough you can get away with 4, but if you want the big hamstrings, you're probably going to have to put them up into the 5 to 6 rep range if you're working within that 6 to 8 rep range that I'm advising, at least for a little bit. Now, Once you have that hamstring exercise out the way, then you can go on to address quads. Now, here's where I find it very interesting that some people start off with squats, and then some people start out with leg extensions. There's a youth factor involved, and let's not disregard that there isn't some type of youth factor in social media. There very much is. I'm approaching everything from the age of a 45-year-old man who's been in the trenches of bodybuilding training for about 20 plus years. All right. A lot of the people that are millions of followers, thousands of followers, make a pretty good living from their coach. They have less than a decade or at least less than 15 years experience of hard training, right? So I'm approaching it from the aspect of I don't want to get fucked up. But they're approaching it from the aspect of that I'm young, I can handle this weight, let me handle this weight. And that's fine. So if you're tuned in, I'm going to tell you how to do it. If you wake up and before the training session, and I'm talking about without pre-workout. Pre-workout is a cheat code. No pre-workout. If everything is snapping in your warm-up sets, if you're feeling good, if you are feeling explosive, disregard everything that I'm saying except with the hamstring exercise, and then go on to that compound movement and work really hard at that movement. But here's the key. You have to be technically proficient at it, number one. And then number two, you have to make sure that all that pressure is going to the target muscle. Okay? So if you're going to start out with squats, obviously you're going to feel your entire leg working, but you want the pressure on those quadriceps to push you back up. Okay? When you're coming down, you want those quadriceps to help you, and you want the hamstrings to help stabilize you as well. So it's a total leg movement, up and down. But if you're feeling good enough during your warm-up sets, if you choose to start out that way, then go ahead and go for broke on squats. But if you walk into the gym, you're kind of like, okay, then that's where the leg extension is going to come in. That's where the leg press is going to come in. Okay, so the old Meadows is hamstrings for muscle activation. All right, pump them up, full of muscle. And then you go to the target muscle that you're working, which in this case is probably quadriceps. So I would recommend, he used to do squats and then leg press and then leg extension. But as he got older, obviously things change. So with that being said, you are going to go hamstrings, pump them up, leg press or leg extension, but generally leg press, get the legs good and tired with a compound movement, and then move on to squats, and then finish out with your leg extensions. And your leg extensions are going to be the metabolic finisher, right? They're going to be the very high volume, very high rep. Really make sure to get that muscle length shortened, because at the top of the position for leg extension, you're at a very, very shortened range, and that's where you're going to get a lot of muscle contraction inside of the leg extension at the top part of the movement. But you want to make sure that when you're doing squat, again, if you're feeling very good, if you're feeling ready to do that compound movement, then just go ahead and work really hard at the compound movement. When I tell you guys not to do, first of all of this is they're not rules, they're just advisements, right? There's a lot of latitude in this. There's a lot of day-to-day stuff that I may not see that could affect your workout. But this is how I would generally put together something with muscle activation, compound movement. If you're feeling froggy, maybe another compound movement, but for less volume than the other previous ones, and then some type of metabolic finisher, whether it be a sled push, whether it be a sled pull, or whether it's just a high rep leg extension. And then you can even do that metabolic finisher again for hamstrings. Nothing wrong with sitting in the seated leg curl and just going to town. I'm going to do sets of 30 until my hamstrings fall off the bone. That's it. A lot of exercise sequencing is very simple, but the complication comes in where we think we need to be fancy with it. I think what a lot of people don't understand is that there's not been anything really new within the past 40 years, right? It's just a lot of trial and error. So even with the Meadows way of programming, I think that there's room for latitude there as well. And everyone that has followed John's programs or probably even worked with him on programming may have exercised that latitude a little bit. I generally don't advise going against your coach, but the shit does happen. And if you're going to do it, at least kind of do it intelligently. So with that being said, if you are somebody that has been looking at influencers and you are somebody that has been trying to do the influencer route, at least exercise wise, and it hasn't been working out, then don't worry. This is the way you should probably do things, and then build upon that, and then see if you can get to a certain point where maybe you can start out with the compound movements. But if we're talking for longevity, maybe starting out with a bar on your back or with a bar in your hand, it's probably not the best way to do things. Trust us. Even the people with the gray beards, we are not hating or anything like that. I just want to see you keep clanging and banging into your 70s and 80s. And yes, there are 70s and 80s and 80-year-old people inside the weight room. Let's keep it that way. Let's be smart with our exercise selection, and let's push forward in a positive manner inside the weight room this year. All right? Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you all. Please, again, hit the like and subscribe button. I'll be bringing much more to you. And with that, have a happy new year and a great week.